Kelvin.
That one's online. Thank you for the opportunity. I've just got a sheet with bullet points on it. I'll leave some behind if you want to pick up. I'm contactable anytime to discuss these matters. When I went through your long-term plan, it seemed to me you didn't really rank and prioritise your expenditure items, nor did you seek, in a way that I would think would be productive, people's opinions about what we should be doing and how much weighting we should give to the individual items. We're facing a very uncertain financial future because of the problems that China is going through and our 7% imbalance in our overseas earnings. So I'm glad you're there and I'm here. You're going to have some very difficult decisions to make. I sympathise. Consider other sources of income. Other people have mentioned this. There are things like getting better investment returns. How about using a management company to manage some of your big assets while you have someone on the board, more than one, to make sure they're being honest and hold them to key performance indicators. That way, I mean, the return on investments in New Zealand is rather pathetic. Farms, 2%. 2%. Why would anybody go farming? We can do better. And the way of doing better is through better management. That's one suggestion. Don't sell your assets. They fatten up your balance sheet. And if the government permits, you can borrow against them. I'm not against borrowing. Everybody has a mortgage and they don't think anything of it. Provided we are sensible about our borrowing, it's a wonderful way of getting our cake and eating it now while paying for it gradually off over the time. Listen to residents. Now, I'm going to be a bit naughty here because when you were establishing the compost plant, my students and I went round through Christchurch measuring all the plumes of smells and smoke and particles in the air, and we thought that the location you were going for was the wrong one. It should be further away from residents. Well, I was turned down, but I was right, you were wrong, and you're going to have to shift it. Sorry. Or you enclose it, which was another option I gave them. In Europe, that would be totally enclosed, the composting plant, and with HEPA filters to make sure that nothing escapes out into the atmosphere. That's another option. I wouldn't say no to that. Support a radon investigation. Now, that came from left field, didn't it? You probably don't know what radon is. It's a radioactive gas which comes from breakdown of thorium and uranium, and it comes into houses and sits around there causing cancer. We have a very high cancer rate. Why? We have the previous two radon investigations done by government were a long time ago, and they didn't use such good methods, and they were once over lightly. Two areas were hotspots for radon, and that was Christchurch and Rangiora. Now, you should be nagging government to say, we need another radon investigation of our area. It's probably more for ECAN, but we all have a vital interest in this. I don't want to die of lung cancer, thank you. And here's another thing that's not going to be popular. Don't get carried away with planting natives. I'm a zoologist, I'm not a botanist. So I like flowers, and I think that we can have a nice mixture of natives. And natives are best when they're all bunched together in a bush. They look magnificent then, and they work well. Consider what you're going to do with the Memorial Library in Church Corner. That would go from the big thing down to the very narrow one now. That was a memorial, and I just wonder whether or not you should turn it into a little park so that all the workers at Church Corner can have a place to sit and eat their lunch. And if they're smokers, smoke as well. Just a thought. I don't know what you're going to do with it. It's actually, there's something wrong with the title there. Your lawyers only went back to the change of ownership in 1919 when it was assigned to the Crown. And because it was assigned to the Crown, it's now been stamped with the Ngāi Tahu Act. So they have priority. I'd rather see it, and I'm sure Ngāi Tahu would as well, to be a memorial as it was, a little memorial park. Don't get swamped with paperwork. Mr. Muldoon used to say, no more than one side of A4 paper. Very wise man in some ways, not in others. and you have references to the thing that you want to find about. I think that your staff should be more aware of what the world is doing in local government. Your staff were invited to a vital conference of all the states in Australia. Only one local body sent any representatives. They had a long-term plan for air quality, came out of that meeting, and your staff still, I think, don't know about it. You would have learnt, if you sent one or two people over, it would have been a marvellous way of upskilling everybody into air quality. And here I'm being nasty again. I'd like you to employ real experts, people who know something about the subject they're supposed to be doing with. I have been very disappointed with the lack of scientific and engineering knowledge on the people I've had interactions with in both ECAN and in the City Council and other local bodies, because I've been in the Environment Court more often than you've probably had hot breakfasts. I usually act for the little guy, and normally I don't lose. I lost in Wellington. Wellington was the worst for that, for its sewage. So that's it. And for Mark II, we have developed a natural product which reduces methane in farm animals by between 80% and 100%. We hope to bring that to market soon. We hope through that it could be worth up to $5 billion to $10 billion to our foreign earnings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very good. I'll let Tim have one question, even though we are over time.
Sorry about that.
I'm sure it's going to be an interesting answer.
If we had sent council staff to that very important meeting in Australia, you would have read about it in the press?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. I probably, look, I mean, you have to get thick skins because you're going to have to make decisions which people are not going to make very popular. But if you explain yourself well enough, I think that the goodies out there, like me, will understand and sympathise. You do. In the future, you're going to have some pretty hard decisions. Our growth rate is such that it's very hard to manage. I live in Hallsville. I've got, a 35 or 40-minute walk to the nearest bus stop, so I park and ride. New World Supermarket don't know that I use them as a park and ride.
They do now.
They do now.
I'm sure you won't tell them.
Oh, don't you worry if it's on TV.
That'll be in the paper.
Okay, mate. Thank you very much for your submission. That's very well done.